Hi, this is a quick overview of the Every Student Succeeds Act, also known as ESSA or ESSA, and Kentucky's response to that act. ESSA was signed into federal law by President Obama on December 10, 2015, with a bipartisan congressional support. This allows Kentucky to transition from our current No Child Left Behind waiver into a brand new accountability system. The system must be created and in place by the 2017-2018 school year by the current regulations of the law. And then ESSA provides more state ownership and design of accountability system across the country. First, I want to note that any Kentucky Department of Education slides that you see are taken directly from KDE and are available on their site, as well as an extended slide deck concerning ESSA. On this slide, you will notice that it really compares No Child Left Behind to ESSA. So if you want to pause to take a look at that, feel free. But the overarching theme just shows how states across the country will have far more ownership in their accountability system and a lot more control. Kentucky's first response, which was pretty rapid, was to create education town hall meetings that really wanted to know how stakeholders would define Kentucky school success. These town hall meetings occurred across the state in various locations, and they even had a virtual town hall meeting available online so that people who were unable to attend the local town hall meetings were then able to give feedback in a formal manner as well. At these town hall meetings, there were over 3,000 attendees across the state and 262 public speakers whose comments were noted and analyzed. The Northern Kentucky Town Hall meeting occurred at NKU. From the feedback that was given at the town hall meetings, there were audio and video recordings, which are available on KDE's website, and there were also note takers that combined all of this information together. KDE then used analytics to determine various themes that arose from the stakeholder comments. And those are, again, available on KDE's website. Through the themes, they were able to capture 5 major groups. One being that stakeholders feel that students need a well-rounded education. 2, that goals were verbalized for the new accountability system, and you can see specific goals within KDE's website. 3, people felt that there is an opportunity for us to improve our current assessment and accountability system that now exists. And 4, there needs to be an emphasis on teaching. And finally, people really pulled into the fact that there are external factors that exist that need to be considered in education. Our current system, known as the Unbridled Learning, which focuses on next generation learners, was made to phase in across various years, learners and instructional programs and support, or what we commonly call program reviews, and then eventually to pull in professionals where it would take into account things like our student growth goals. In 2015, the Kentucky Board of Education decided to not utilize the professionals component for the previous school year, and we were still using the learner and program review. So when you take a look at our current system, you will note that our learners looks at achievement. For elementary, that would be K-Prep, GAP, growth, college and career readiness, and graduation rate. And in program review, what we all know of the analysis of our programs in the arts and humanities, practical living, writing, primary program, and eventually the thought was also world language. So then going back, in the design of a new system, KDE released this draft timeline, and as you look over it, you will see that the public input that was taken in March through May is now, they took that analysis and work groups began work on it pretty much, and I would say we started around June, and that work will continue through October. The plan is to have a first reading, all of the recommendations to be approved and whatnot, public feedback to be taken, and then the first reading of the system to go to the Kentucky Board of Education at the special meeting in January, and then hopefully for the designed system to have a second reading in February. Then they would go through all the regulatory processes, both at the federal and state levels, and then teachers would begin being trained on the new system in the spring for the new system to be in place by August of 2017. So how is the system being developed? As you can see from this flow chart, we have 5 work groups that are occurring currently. College and career readiness, the assessment group, opportunity and access, school improvement, and educational innovation. And these groups will then send each of their chairs to a system integration work group that will make sure that all of the different components align. A consequential review team will look to see if there are any holes in the system, and the regulatory review team will make sure that everything is up to par with current state law. Then the accountability steering committee will be given all of the recommendations, and then we'll decide to vote to approve them or deny them. And then the approved recommendations will then be submitted to the Kentucky Board of Education for approval. So who is behind the design? The work groups, across the various work groups, you have over 100 teachers, principals, you also have students, superintendents, higher ed, and advocacy representatives, total made up of over 100 of these folks. And then the steering committee, the group that will take the recommendations from the work groups and determine if they are going to create the most effective system for our students, is made up of 7 teachers from across the state, 1 from elementary, 1 from middle, 1 from various groups, and I can get you a format of who all of those people are. 3 principals, 5 superintendents, 3 community group representatives, 7 K group representatives. Those would be groups like the Kentucky Education Association, the Kentucky Association for School Councils. We have 4 advocacy group representatives, for instance, a representative from the Pritchard Committee. And then we have 5 higher ed representatives. Primarily, we seem to have deans from the major state universities. And then we have 2 elected officials, Representative Derek Graham and Representative Bam Carney, on the steering committee. So to take a quick look at a deep dive of what the work group work really looks like, for the college and career readiness group, that group is made up of teachers, counselors, superintendents, a student, school board members, and then also representatives from the Chamber of Commerce and the business community. And what they are currently working on, they're redefining what college and career readiness consists of in our Commonwealth. They're also narrowing those 2 definitions into 1. They're identifying key indicators to determine career and college readiness. They are also brainstorming potential measures that could determine college and career readiness and ensuring equity across student groups and districts. And as you can see from the image, this is where a lot of that nitty-gritty work is occurring, is within these work groups. And that collaboration between folks in education and folks in the business community is really going to pull through that work group. So the process consists of the work groups creating recommendations based off of what's happening in those rooms. And then those recommendations are going to be sent to the steering committee. The recommendations are going to start coming to those of us in the steering committee within the month of September. And the people on that committee are really looking for a lot of feedback from folks in our field. So that's really what I'm going to need from you, is some very rich feedback on these recommendations that are coming through, what you think of them, if you think it's something that best supports our students, if you think it's something that best supports the state of Kentucky. So I'm going to be creating some feedback systems where I can push out some highlights of those recommendations out to you, and then ways for you to provide feedback that I can then take to the steering committee. I want to make sure that I'm representing elementary teachers from various perspectives, not just from my own. So once we have those recommendations and we have your feedback, we as the steering committee will vote, and we are currently in talks of what that vote looks like. If we're just looking for majority, if we need a specific percentage of the majority to agree for that recommendation to be passed through and presented to Commissioner Pruitt and the Kentucky Board of Education. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for the recommendations to start coming down the pike, there are some resources if you want to know more about ESSA within our Commonwealth. You can go to KDE, where they have an entire page devoted directly to it. This is a very transparent system. There is no curtain being pulled over the eyes of the public. We want all of this to be out and in the open. So you'll see that there are a lot of different links so that you can access testimonies, you can access the minutes, you can access all sorts of information to help better inform all of us on this process. And then you can also go to koiedpolicy.org, which also has the law, the regulations, and then an overview of both. It has resources as well if you click that tab. And then there is a place where you can respond and give us your insight into what we truly need in order to have an effective and successful accountability system in Kentucky. All of that information would be really valuable for me to gain from you. So if you don't mind, I would greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, please feel free to find me or email me, and I look forward to continuing this process with you. Thanks.